Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. We are standing in our new shop. This is actually like one of our first videos once we've got the lift installed and everything. We're gonna have all those updates soon. We'll have those posted here with all the other stuff that we've done in the shop. But let's just go ahead and get on with this video. This video is gonna cover what you should be doing if your car is burning oil. So I'm gonna give you a few tips on how you can prevent it and how you can even remedy the situation if your engine itself is not too far gone. So regardless, I would recommend doing all this stuff first, and if it doesn't really help, that's pretty much going to point you to internal wear in your engine, and there's not much else you could do on that besides just topping up the engine oil. So as you guys know, BMWs are known to burn a lot of oil, especially the E46 330 engines. Also, a lot of the turbo engines burn oil. Most high performance engines are going to burn oil, but we can do a few little things to help it, especially if it's burning an excessive amount of oil. So the first thing that you want to look at is your engine oil. So make sure you're using the right type of engine oil. Make sure your oil change intervals are matching your driving style as well as the type of oil that you're using. So on BMWs, you're going to be using fully synthetic oil. If you're going to be doing a lot of stop and go driving as well as a lot of traffic, or even on the highways like in LA, you're not really driving at a high speed. You're mostly doing a lot of stop and go. You want to make sure that you are lowering your oil change interval. Instead of going the recommended 7,500 miles, you might want to bring that down to about 5,000, 6,000. Now, if you're doing a lot of freeway driving and you're using fully synthetic oil, you can run that 7,500 interval, or depending on whatever car you have, you might have a different spec. So like, you know, if you're holding like only 5 or 6 quarts, even with fully synthetic oil, you're looking at about 5,000 to 6,000 miles for freeway driving. And if you're just doing a lot of city stop and go, you might want to bring that down to about 4,000 miles and go from there. And that should actually help out quite a bit as far as how much oil you burn throughout the whole cycle between oil changes. And it'll also make sure your engine is running healthy. I mean, doing oil changes is very cheap insurance for prolonging the life of your car. Now, the next thing is you want to make sure you're using the right type of oil. So every car has a certain type of spec, certification that they require on what kind of oil you can put in your car. And whatever the manufacturer recommends, you want to try to stick with that as much as you can. So if your car is calling for 5W30 oil, you shouldn't be using 5W20, even if it's cheaper. You should be using the exact type of oil that your car recommends. You'll be surprised, especially if you're not doing your own oil changes. Some places might not put the exact same, oil that should be going in there. So you're better off providing them with your own oil. A lot of shops, they will gladly accept the oil that you give them to do your oil change. It shouldn't make a huge difference. Now, following along with your oil change intervals, something that you can try is called an engine flush. So previously, everybody's heard of all these snake oils that people recommend that will, just completely transform your engine, make it smoother and all that. This is not claiming to do any of that, but it does claim to clean out some of the oil passages in your engine. And I've actually used it before, and it does make a little bit of a difference. We have improved some oil burning in several cars. So that's something that you might want to try out. It's called Liqui Moly Engine Flush. It'll be linked down below. And all it does, you add it to your car right before you're about to do an oil change. You add it to a warm engine. You let it cycle in there while the car is idling for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then you do your oil change. And that just cleans out most of the oil passages while the oil is circulating through the whole engine. And by doing this engine flush, you're cleaning out a lot of the passages. So theoretically, it should reduce the amount of oil you're consuming. So definitely try that out. It'll be linked down below. Now let's get on with more of the mechanical components of your engine that might be going bad. So the biggest thing that everybody knows when you're talking about burning oil is your oil separator, your PCV system, whatever you want to call it. There's various names throughout the industry, but that is something that you really want to check. Especially if it hasn't been serviced before or serviced to your knowledge, I would definitely recommend going ahead and replacing the whole system or cleaning it out. So we've got PCV valves for several makes and models, and other people like BMW usually call it their oil separator system or the crankcase ventilation system. A lot of people know it as the CCV. So that's something that you want to change out if it hasn't been changed before. And all that does, it separates a lot of the oil vapors and blow-by that your engine has, and it allows it to recirculate it through the intake. That way you're not just blowing it out into the atmosphere. So you're better off replacing these components if you don't have any maintenance history on them. And it's just to be safe rather than sorry. Sometimes these components will begin to fail prematurely and they will start burning a little bit of oil at a time until it gets to the point where the whole diaphragm is messed up and then you're burning a lot of oil, and that's when you'll start seeing the smoke out the back. So it's always good to do preventative maintenance. So that's something that I would definitely recommend. Now this is more specific to BMWs, especially the M54 and M52 engines. If you have one of those with a CCV system, what you can actually do is there's a capped off vacuum port on the CCV valve itself. And if you actually take that port, uncap it, and add a vacuum line to the back of the intake manifold, this will allow you to add a little bit more vacuum into the whole system. By adding this extra vacuum, you'll help the rings seal a little bit better, and hopefully it will help you with your oil burning. But the thing is, you want to only do this on a good CCV valve. You don't want to add this extra vacuum if your valve is already going bad. So I would only recommend doing it after replacing it and seeing if there's any change in the entire, consumption. Now the last thing I'm going to suggest is a catch can. So a catch can will actually take place of your whole PCV, CCV, oil separator system, and it will actually eliminate all that and allow you to capture all of your blow-by and all that stuff just in this. Only thing with this catch can system is it does require a little bit more intervention by the user. That's why it's not usually always recommended for everybody. But if you are watching this video, chances are you are going to be pretty hands-on with the whole approach. So it might actually be a good solution for you. So this catch can right here is one that I got off of Amazon. It's like $30. We'll have it linked down below. And we'll even actually have a separate video soon that shows you how to install one of these. So what this does, it actually deletes that whole PCV, CCV system. It will take the blow-by directly from your valve cover in through one of these ports. It'll capture it right here. The other port, you can vent it to the atmosphere, which is not recommended. Or the other option is actually taking it to the vacuum system itself. So you'll put the other section into the intake, and the idea is all that nasty gases and all that will get trapped in here. Any condensation, all that stuff will get trapped in here, and then you'll just have also an added vacuum to the whole system. And this added vacuum will do the same thing as what I talked about earlier for the BMWs. It will help seal the rings. And that will pretty much help prevent any extra oil consumption, and that should help solve the whole issue in its entirety. But like I said, this does require more intervention. You will have to empty it out. You have to keep track of it. If this starts getting filled up too much, you're just going to start sucking in a lot of oil into your intake system, and you're going to do more harm than good. And another issue with these catch cans, it does look like an aftermarket component. So some states, they might they might not pass your inspection if they see this as a visual inspection, because it shouldn't really cause any check engine lights or anything, but it would fail a visual inspection in some states. So that's another downside, but you can also do something as far as hiding it so that way it's not visible. And there's a lot of options with this because you can pretty much mount it anywhere, and it just depends on how you do it. But regardless, you would still have to have access to it. That way you can check it and empty it if it needs to be emptied. And the whole catch can system is very useful, especially for turbo engines, because turbo engines usually have a lot more blow-by. So a lot of cars that are especially going to be modified, a lot of people go ahead and add those anyways. So that's something that I would definitely look into. We will have a video soon showing how to install one of those. Especially for 30 bucks, you can't really go wrong. And if you're burning oil, this doesn't hurt. You can try to solve the issue temporarily with the catch can by adding that increased vacuum. But one thing that I do want to mention, whenever you add this increased vacuum, it might not be a permanent solution, especially if your engine is already worn to that point where the rings aren't sealing properly, which is why you're burning all that oil. So this might not be a long-term solution, but it might be long enough for you to actually rebuild the engine or whatever you want to do with it in the future. Now, if you add a catch can and you've done all the other stuff and you're still burning oil, chances are that your engine itself is just worn out to the point where it is either going to need to be rebuilt or you might need to replace it. And at that point, there's not really much else you can do besides, like I said, rebuild it. Now, this pretty much covers all of the main things that you can try with the whole oil burning, oil consumption issue. If you have any other suggestions, feel free to leave a comment down below. But that pretty much concludes this video. If you guys want to see that catch can video, make sure you leave a like and comment down below, and we will get that out as soon as we can. And stay tuned for our next video where we will show the rest of the progress on the shop. As you can see, there is a lift already in here. We're almost there. We're about to start working on some good, crazy projects. We're so excited, and we hope you guys are enjoying this whole rebuild, and I can't wait to actually get some real car content out there. We'll see you guys in our next video.